it's no good. I do like a bit of steam train every now and again. In fact, I like any sort of train. Bit, what's the word? Unusual like that with my love of trains, but fear not. I'm able to indulge in musical train themedness. So if you'd like to join me in musical train music and want to suggest some, Twitter's the best way. It's hashtag or at Harry Edna, and we'll use this modern telegraph technique and find out all that's going along. So yes, Twitter us on hashtag Harry Edna. And if you enjoy this show and you want to listen to it again, or indeed any of the previous Harry and Ednas, just simply go to harryandedna.co.uk, click on the tab that says wireless, and you can listen to this and all the other Harry and Edna broadcasts we've had. And there must be about 2.5, maybe even sneaking up to 3 years worth of backlog material. So if you're stuck, as I've said many a time, you've got a whole week ill in bed, just put it on back to back and that'll make you feel tip-top in just seconds. Strangely enough, this is a train-related track. This is called Night Train.
So, talking about the Marston Vale Railway, Stephen, it has something slightly unique, which is the Ridgemont Station Heritage Centre.
Yes,
that's
it does.
Fairly new?
Yes, it is. It's something we've been working on for a long time, pretty much since the CRP Community Rail Partnership was established in 2007. It was so long ago, there was a different train operator then, it was Silverlink Trains. The Heritage Centre is now open. It opened last September, and that was the first time that members of the public have been able to go into the building for over 40 years. So it had been redundant for a very long time. The only part of the building that had been in use was the former booking office, which was essentially used as the signal box, and that was used until 2004, when, as I mentioned earlier, the line was modernised and all the signal boxes combined into one.
So I'm assuming that originally the signal box had always been in the booking office, because can you suddenly move a signal box into a booking office?
The signallers were based in the booking office. They controlled a lot of the controls from the ticket office, but the actual ground frame where you pull the levers, that was actually outside. So It was just essentially a hut for the signallers to work from.
Because I still envisage signal boxes as levers.
Yes, yes.
Sort of visiting many heritage
yes.
railway lines, I imagine somebody there in a box.
And that's what we had, but our levers were actually outside. There was never an actual signal box at Ridgemont. The levers were always outside.
So that you're very open to the elements.
Very much so, yes.
So the poor person had to work there on a winter's day.
Exactly. So the building, even just those 2 rooms, was very much an asset to those particular signallers.
So the Ridgemont Station Heritage Centre literally was Ridgemont Station. So
yes, it was. Yep, it's the old station house. So as well as being a signal box in inverted commas, as it were, it was also very much a family home. So there would have been a whole family living there and staff working from there as well. Because originally at Ridgemont, as I mentioned earlier, with the brickworks, there have been a lot of freight trains coming in and particular sidings. So there have been a porter or 2 at the station. We know where his cabin used to be in the building, and he'd been going out to meet all the trains and to assist passengers.
And would they have helped? How would they have put the trains into the sidings? Did you? I mean, I'm thinking of like a banksman, but you wouldn't have had that, would you, in those days?
There would have been separate points there. So we've got what's called the signal diagram in the Heritage Centre, which shows you where the points would have been and how the trains would have been moved into sidings.
So it was quite a big ooperation.
It was quite a busy station, yes. Yeah.
And what state was the Heritage Centre in when you first got the building back?
It was in quite a sorry state. You could look up on the first floor rooms where the bedrooms used to be and see the sky. The ceiling had just disappeared and the roof had just disappeared. There was water pouring down one particular part of the building, which we think was the old pantry. You had to be very careful which floorboards you stepped on in certain of the downstairs rooms because they were quite rotten. Also, which was remarked on by all the visitors we took round when we were showing them the restoration, there was some very much of its time 1970s wallpaper.
Oh, lovely.
Which you've actually retained as samples to actually show people in the Heritage Centre, because we thought that was as part of the heritage of the building as some of the more historic aspects.
Yeah, part of the life it had and its kind of involvement over the years.
Yeah.
Was there much of the original bits that you could use?
Yes. The ticket office where the signallers would have been based, that's Victorian, and the benches and the a lot of the infrastructure of that particular room, that is all original and that's been faithfully restored. There were a number of original fireplaces as well. A number of original sort of features on the outside the building in terms of window frames and just the way the building was styled. It goes back to 1846 and it was designed very, very, very carefully by the Duke of Bedford. He wanted that and 3 other stations on the Marston Vale line to look like private houses. He didn't want them to look like stations.
Like rough and ready stations.
Yes, so that's why it's got the style it's got now. I think it's called cottage ornate style, which is quite a particular style in architectural terms.
Did the restoration, was that funded by the rail company? Was it fundraised for?
It was a variety of different sources, not directly by the rail company, although they have been tremendously supportive and given us lots of support in kind and donating sort of exhibits and that sort of thing. But essentially it was led by the Railway Heritage Trust, which specialises in refurbishing buildings, railway related across the country. We also had funding from central government by DEFRA, which is the Department of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. There's also a landfill tax trust that we successfully applied funding to called WREN, and they provided quite a generous grant, as did Central Bedfordshire Council and the former East of England Development Agency. And there are a couple of other smaller charities as well. So it's very much a package of funding. So that's why in some ways it's taken so long, because we had to do the funding, the work, as the funding became available.
And that's a whole job in itself, isn't it? Getting all the funding and bringing it all in.
Yes.
And so, what the work was it done by contractors? Did you have a certain element of volunteers coming in and helping?
It was largely done by specialists due to it being a listed building, and the Railway Heritage Trust were quite specific about how they wanted it restored. So we had to use specialist companies, and we're very fortunate we found a local company in Woburn Sands actually done work on such grand buildings as Southwark Cathedral.
Wow.
So Ridgemont to them was not too much of a challenge.
We'll talk a little bit more in just a moment. Harry, I'm lost because I nipped out to make a cup of tea. Which track are we on now?
It's your favourite friend, Mead Lex Lewis.
Oh, and the Honky Tonk Train Blues.